What is up, guys? It is AJ from MMA Experts, and we are talking about the fight between Chris Weidman and Omari Akhmedov. Weidman gets it done. Wasn't super impressive, but he did go out in the third round and win that fight. He lost the second. He did what he had to. I was happy to see him victorious because I was worried he would lose, but I did predict this exact result. I thought that it would be this type of fight. I didn't think Weidman would look spectacular, but I did think he would beat the very tough Omari Akhmedov. Akhmedov's a decent fighter, obviously. We saw that. He's tough. He competed against Weidman, and who knows how good Weidman is anymore. I mean, we'll have to see in his next fight. Was coming off that brutal loss at light heavyweight against Dominic Reyes, who turned out to be one of the best light heavyweights on the planet, maybe even arguably the best light heavyweight on the planet right now. But let's get into the rankings and talk about a next fight for Chris Weidman. You see, Omari Akhmedov was ranked 13 here. So what could we do next for Weidman? Now, this is really going to depend on what he wants, right? Does he want to be rushed towards the top? And this is the UFC. Want to kind of sacrifice Chris Weidman possibly to another contender? Because I will throw a name right out there to you. You could do Derek Brunson versus Chris Weidman. I don't know if I like that fight for Chris. I think that's a hard matchup. Also, you could do Jack Hermanson if you really want to move him up versus Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman is a former world champion. He'll always carry that heavy name value. So you could do those fights. But I'm going to bring up somebody else. What about Marvin Vettori? You give Vettori a big fight against Weidman, the former world champion, and you give Weidman a chance to slowly rebuild. I mean, Vettori's tough, but I don't think Vettori is as hard of a matchup as fighting Jack Hermanson or Derek Brunson. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Marvin Vettori is better than those guys, but just from what we've seen inside the octagon, excuse me, I like the idea of maybe giving Weidman a bit of an easier step back towards the top rather than rushing him. But it's really going to be up to the UFC. We'll see what they want to do. He wasn't super impressive. I think he definitely has some flaws in his game still. He's not the Weidman that we once knew, that smasher Weidman that would just destroy everyone. But he still is a good fighter in this middleweight division. Now, for Omari Akhmedov, it's a disappointing loss, but I don't think it's the end of the world type of defeat here. I think you could put him in there against somebody like the loser of Krzysztof Jotko and Makhmed Muradov. I'd lean towards Jotko if Jotko loses, but I don't know. Excuse me, I don't even know how to say his name. Makhumad, it could be the matchup. He's ranked right here. I mean, he's looked decent inside the octagon, 2-0. So, hey, maybe that's the fight. Maybe they even give him the winner of that one. Another name you really could throw out there is Eric Anders and Omari Akhmedov. I think Akhmedov gives a lot of guys tough fights just because of his good wrestling base. He's stocky. He can take a punch. I think he's a hard matchup. I don't really think Carlos Jr. would be the matchup, but they could possibly do that. I don't know. I just think he lost to Ian Heinisch recently, and then you saw Akhmedov defeated Ian Heinisch. But I like the idea of maybe doing the Makhmed and Jotko loser versus Omari Akhmedov next. If not, I mean, you could move him back towards, the bottom end of the ranking, but I don't think that's fair after giving a good show against Weidman. You could even possibly do Edmund Shabazian versus Omari Akhmedov if they want to give him a really tough fight and see if Shabazian can bounce back against a really tough guy in the middleweight division. But at the end of the day, good fight here for Weidman, good win. Omari Akhmedov looks tough as always. Weidman, he needs to work on some things again. Maybe he's got his mojo back a bit, but I don't know if he has that world championship running him, but we will see in his next fight. But all right, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, turn on those post notifications. Also, follow my social medias, Instagram and Twitter, and I will see you all in the next video.